guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be discussing how to take care of your mental health. Right, so mental health issues as such are being discussed more and more in the media. You know, you see regularly on TV shows they're talking about anxiety, depression, that kind of thing, because more and more people are suffering with it. But then that also brings a question about why more and more people are suffering with it. And I won't really go into too much detail about that because this video is more about tips, not just answers. But really, anxiety often develops because we're feeling overwhelmed about something, whatever that is. Now, we have a lot of pressures with school, we have a lot of pressures with work, financial pressures, social pressures, all of that it can just get a bit too much, right? And that's when anxiety comes about. So in order to stop anxiety like taking control, we need to make time for ourselves. We need to make sure we're taking care of our mental health so we don't develop problems with anxiety or depression or any other mental illnesses that are caused from our lack of care, I guess. Now, that's not to say all anxiety and depression is, caused by lack of care, but there are definitely things we can do to help. And that's something that took me a long time to realise. You often ignore the warning signs and you just keep pushing yourself until you reach breaking point. So, without further ado, let's discuss some tips. So, the first thing that I found made a big difference was having a clear bedtime routine. Especially when I was at uni, I would often spend the nights working, or I wouldn't bat an eyelid about staying up really late, either working on a project or playing video games. You're not really bothered, especially when you're younger, because you go through that phase in your childhood where you have a bedtime that's set by your parents, and then you kind of, in your teen years, you start to realise you don't need that bedtime, and then you rebel against it. But that's actually not great for your mental health, because, believe it or not, you can really do with those 8 hours. Not everybody needs it. Some people cope perfectly fine on 3 hours sleep. But it's definitely worth trying to give yourself more time. So I wasn't too worried about the amount of time I needed to sleep, but I started to pay attention to what time when I went to bed, what time would suit me best. So that means the best night's sleep, that means being able to fall asleep the easiest, that kind of thing, right? And for me, I noticed it's around the 11 o'clock mark. And things change then, right? So you say, okay, 11 o'clock is the time I want to be in bed, ready to fall asleep. Then you can start to plan backwards a little bit. So you say, okay, I'm going to finish working on whatever at like 8 p.m. and then I'll, watch film, read a book, get ready for bed, whatever. And that kind of makes a big difference because you are giving yourself a few hours of relaxation. And that makes that huge difference, because if you're constantly thinking about school, work, whatever, and you just keep forcing your brain, it just runs out of steam eventually, to put it simply. I don't have any sciencey, doctory knowledge to back this up properly, but I know from my experience that eventually you just burn out, and then the next day's bad, and then because you struggle more, you push yourself further, and then it just spirals like that. So if you just give yourself a cut-off point, then again, planning backwards works, because you can plan your time better for what projects you need to do when you eat. And that's the other thing, actually. A big part of self-care is making sure you eat properly. And if you're anything like me, you might not take food that seriously, right? I am not a foodie, despite being surrounded by people in my life who love food. It just doesn't bother me. And because of that, it's easy for me to go, oh, I can't bother to make something. Oh, I'll just leave it, I'll skip it. It's fine, I'll eat later. But that's not good, because again, you're not giving your body what it needs. You're pushing yourself further. You're running yourself down. So make sure you eat regularly and relatively healthily. One of the other things that I found really helps with mental health is being outdoors. Again, naturally, I am not a very outdoorsy person. Don't like insects. Don't really like the cold, the wet. It's just not really my scene. And when it's too hot, also not really a big fan. My room is perfect temperature for me, and I'm happy with that, right? So being outdoorsy, it's not really a part of my nature, but actually it's a vital part for taking care of your mental health. So just going out into the garden for a little bit, or taking a walk, going for a bike ride, being around animals if you can. Depends if you have a dog or a horse. I'm fortunate enough to have both, but being outdoors definitely makes a huge difference to your mental health. And there is sciencey stuff which they spoke about, exercise outdoors was actually more beneficial than exercise indoors because of the oxygen, the endorphins, that kind of thing. So definitely being outdoors is something I would recommend. There's something with grounding where you can walk barefoot on grass, and that's actually proven to be really beneficial because of the negative ions in your body, and they're released into the earth. And honestly, I don't know that much about it, but that's what I've read on it, and I think it's worth trying. There's nothing wrong with being a little bit hippie now and again. So, speaking of being outdoors, the other thing that I would recommend strongly is getting some kind of hobby. Because having something that you can do regularly that is not stressful and in fact brings you joy or excitement, it's great. We don't need to constantly focus on being productive or working or making money. Yes, those things are important, but we need to keep our sanity. We need to feel all right. So we need that time to do something fun that we enjoy. And that can be anything. Some people love spa days, and if that's something that totally relaxes you, treat yourself. But you want something that ideally doesn't cost too much money, and something that doesn't rely on too many different factors. So the hobbies that I'm talking about is like art, painting, drawing, sketching, music, which is making music, writing songs. Writing in itself can be great, like writing short stories, writing poems. You could also pick up a sporting hobby depending on what you enjoy, what you have around available to you. Those kind of things really do actually make a big difference. So again, I started horse riding about a year or two back, just to gain my confidence up. As I said, I do have my own horse, but that's a whole separate topic. So I went to have some riding lessons, and actually having that break every week, it's just half an hour lesson once a week, it made a huge difference. I would be so excited for it on the day, I'd be so happy. all my worries would go away. It was just great, right? And that's something that really does help mental health, because you are giving yourself a break from worrying about things. You are taking yourself out of the stressful situations, which again is why, being outdoors anyway is good, because you're taking yourself out, physically out of a situation. And you might not realise that you've created, or potentially you've created, a stressful situation. So what I did, because I was working late at night, my bedroom wasn't just a place where I'd sleep. I would do all of my schoolwork, all my uni work, and then I would have my other projects that I was doing on the side. And so I had my laptop, tablets, camera equipment, papers, folders, books, so many different things all in one space, that I realised it wasn't somewhere where I could relax anymore. It became more of a creative space, which isn't necessarily bad, but then in a way it is bad, because that's where I sleep. That's where I need to be relaxed. So again, one of the next things is creating a relaxing environment for yourself as best as you can. And different people find different things relaxing, but it's important to have a relatively tidy space. You have that, if you have a cluttered space, you have a cluttered mind, there's that saying. So try to keep your relaxation space, wherever that is, try and keep it tidy, right? Try and keep it clean. Make sure there's plenty of fresh air. You could also try getting a diffuser, using some essential oils, playing some relaxing music, just to really create a calm place that you can just unwind. Maybe practice some meditation, which again is another point. There are a lot of mindfulness and meditation type techniques which really do help. So if you feel yourself getting worked up about something, you can try a quick 10-minute meditation. You can use the apps like Headspace or Calm, or you can have a look on YouTube. There's plenty of things there. Try something just to take yourself out of that anxious state of mind. So really, to end the video, it's looking after your mental health is really about taking care of yourself as well. And we often forget that. And we often push ourselves and push ourselves and push ourselves because there are so many external pressures that we just think we have to. There isn't another way. Your friend's having a party and you have to go because they're your friend. But actually you can say no, and your friends should understand that. So those moments are the ones that you want to put yourself first, right? You don't have to put yourself first all the time, but you need those moments just to take care of yourself. Whether that's hiding away for half a day watching films, or binge watching a box set, that kind of thing. And it might also mean, speaking to somebody about things, vocalizing your concerns. There's so many different aspects to it that we become used to just pushing it down and suppressing it, but that's not really going to get us very far. So please let me know in the comments if you have any more tips or suggestions so we can create our own little community. And please let me know your thoughts on any of the suggestions. Please give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.